Hello. So in this session, we're going to install client server configuration or client server setup. So first one thing to do is to turn on the discovery of the network of both computers. So by the way, in this right corner, we have a server computer, and on the left side, you have the client computer or the Windows 10. So first one, we're going to turn on the discovery of the both computers, so the network discovery. So let's go to open the file server. Okay, then right click the network, then properties. Okay, then. So we're going to select the change advanced sharing so that we can be able to turn on the discovery and turn on the file sharing printer of both private, public, and all networks. Then turn off the password protected sharing. So just save changes. Okay. So next one is to the client computer. We also have to turn on the discovery and file sharing printer of the network client computer. Just turn it on. Turn on. Turn on enable file sharing, then turn off the password protected sharing. Then save changes. Okay, so okay. So in here we are using a virtual machine of the Hyper-V Visor machine for our tutorial. So we're going to use the loopback LAN cable for us to be able to enable the Ethernet network for both computer host and the virtual machine. So after the turning on the discovery, so make sure that both computer has or in a obtain mode. So we're going to network properties again. Then select the change adapter settings. Right click the Ethernet. Then the IPv4. So as you can see, by default, it is already selected the obtain an IP address automatically. So meaning the computer will automatically request an IP address to a router. So just click OK. Then okay. So let's also make sure that the network configuration of the client computer is also in obtain mode. So right click the Ethernet properties, then IPv4. So it also by default it also selected the obtain an IP address automatically. So just leave it like that, then just okay, then close the windows. Okay, so in client server, meaning within a network, we have a client computer and a server computer. So in server computer, you can control the client computer through the server policy, so group policy of the server computer network. Okay, so meaning the server computer can also shut down or manipulate the client computers that connected to the same domain. Okay, so first one to do is install and configure the Active Directory domain services and the um, DNS server. Okay, so we have to go to the server manager. Okay, so in ADDS and DNS, we're going to or we are able to create a new forest or a domain for our network. So as per instruction, we're going to create a ginebra.local domain name. Okay, so let's go to the manage, then add roles. Okay, So add roles and features wizard will appear. Okay, so just click next in here, then next, and next. Okay, just wait a little bit. Um, the selection of installation will appear. Okay, so we're going to select the ADDS and DNS for the installation. So, okay, the list of selection for to be installed are already appeared. Then we're going to check the checkbox of the Active Directory domain services and the also just click add features. The next one is the DNS server. So, okay, so after we install and configure the IDDS, we are able to create a organizational unit, security group, and a client user. Okay, so just click next, then next, 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 then check the checkbox of the start, then click OK or yes, then install. So we're just going to wait for the um, progress of installation. Let's wait to be completed. Okay, so as I said before, in ADDS and DNS, we are able to create a domain name for a domain network, and also after the creation of domain, we are able to create a organizational unit, a and also a security group, and also for the user for a network. So okay, so let's wait for the installation. Okay, so as you can see, our virtual machine is faster. It's because we are using a Hyper-V virtual machine software. So in VirtualBox, uh, a VirtualBox is a good one software for a virtual machine, but it will take higher specs for a computer. Unlike the Hyper-V, I only have a 20 gig RAM memory, but it can run smoothly the both two virtual machine for this tutorial. So if you want to create or make a tutorial with a virtual machine, I recommended to use the Hyper-V for a tutorial. So okay, so let's just wait for the installation to complete. So and also I'm using a OBS software for this is video screen recording. Okay, so hopefully the microphone is clear. So okay, so the installation succeeded. So just click OK or close. Okay. So in here at the top menu, we can see a flag one and a yellow exclamation. So meaning in here you can see the notification of the server manager. So uh, we are seeing a yellow exclamation in here. Then it says promote the server to a domain control. So meaning we're going to configure the installed ADDS and DNS. So just click the promote the server to domain controller. Okay, so a wizard will appear. So active directory domain service wizard will appear. Then in here, we're going to choose the add a new forest. Then so as per instruction, we're going to create a ginebra.local domain. So just type the ginebra.local, then click next. Okay, so on the next window, you're going to enter a password for the domain name, which is the ginebra.local. So as per instruction, we're going to create a password 1 plus. Okay, so just enter the password 1 plus. So make sure the password and confirmation password are correct or same. Okay, so then click next, then next. Okay, just let's wait a little bit. So unauthorized bias domain name Ginebra. So we have successfully entered a Ginebra domain name. So just click next. Okay, then next. Just click next again. Okay, so all prerequisite checks passed successfully. So meaning we have successfully entered the domain or installed a domain. So just click install for the complete installation. So okay, so client server setup will take a patience to wait for the installations. Okay, so just wait a little bit. Okay, so I'm hoping that the microphone is clear. So, okay, it's already 12 minutes. Okay, so it says here in the notification, you are about to be signed out. So meaning, will the system will close or restart for it to refresh the changes of the settings of this server configuration. So let's wait for the refresh or the restart of the server computer. Okay, so it's a good thing that we have a Hyper-V. So our virtual machine runs smoothly even if we have two virtual machines running in a host computer. So it says applying computer settings, meaning it is saving the changes of the server computer. So it is applying the settings we configured in ADDS and DNS. So hopefully, or we are expecting that the Ginebra.local we configured is already installed in the server computer. Okay, the client computer will just stand by. So we're going to connect it into a domain after we configure the DHCP. After this installation and configuration of the ADDS and DNS. So we just have to wait for a while for it to install the configuration settings of the server computer. ilagay nyo lang tong test paper nyo dito as a folder. Let's just wait a little bit longer. Paspas ka man. Nalpas mo nga dagos. Tibay ka. Tibay ah. Okay, so as we can see, the server computer already done in saving the configuration settings. So we're going to log in the user account of the administrator. Okay, so to verify the configuration of Ginebra.local, so let's go to local server. Then as you can see, the domain is Ginebra.local. So we have successfully created a domain which is named Ginebra.local. So next one thing to do is to create a organizational unit, security group, and the client user. So we're going to the Active Directory users and computers. Okay, then expand this ginebra.local and right click in the ginebra.local, then new, then select the organizational unit. So uncheck this protect container. So we're going to name it is Pacific for our organizational unit. So it's Pacific. So then click OK. Okay, so as you can see, it's just like a folder. So it's Pacific already created. We now have the organizational unit. So we're going to create a security group. Okay, so right click in the under specific, then new, then select the group. Okay, so by default, it selected the security, so just leave it like that. So we're going to create a security group for our users. Okay, so we're going to connect the client users in here, the security group. So we're going to name it as logistics. Okay, so logistics. Then, okay, so we have successfully created a logistics security group. Okay, then right click again at the specific, then click new, then select the user. So we're going to create a user. So let's name it as Edwin. So in the first name, we can also enter a last name initial. Okay, so in here, I'm just going to enter a first name. Then the first name, same as with the logon name. So meaning, in user logon name, upon logging in the user, just enter the admin in here. Then you can now open or log in the admin user. So then click next. Then we're going to enter the password for the user admin. So uncheck this one. Okay, so it is optional what you're going to choose. So you may also choose the user must change password at next logon. So meaning on the first logon of the user admin, the admin user we're going to create a new password or change a new password. Okay, so in on the next choice, user cannot change password. So as it says, upon logging of the user, uh, the default password will still be the permanent password of the user admin. So we're just going to choose the or use the user cannot change password. So click next, then finish. Okay, so we have created a security group logistics and uh, client user admin. So next one is we're going to uh, uh, make Edwin to be a member of the logistics group. Okay, so just click the right click the Edwin, then properties, then we're going to open the member of, so member of tab. So in here we're going to add the logistics where the user Edwin will be a member of the logistics security group. So okay, then apply. Okay, so for verification, if the Edwin already a member of the logistics, so just right click in the logistics security group, then properties, then click the tab member so we can see the Edwin. So meaning Edwin is already a member of the security group logistics. So just click OK. Okay, so we have successfully created a specific organizational unit, and under a specific organizational unit, we have created also a logistics security group and an Edwin user account. So, okay, so we have successfully created it. So next one, we're going to set the DHCP also, or the dynamic host control protocol. So meaning we're going to set a range of the IP address that the server will give or distribute IP addresses or and even the default gateway and the DNS server of the client, uh, who will be connected to the Ginebra.local domain. So, okay, so just close this one. Okay, so first thing to do before we configure the DHCP, so we're going to install the HCP, the DHCP. So the add roles features wizard will appear. Then next, just click next and next. Okay, so let's find for the DHCP server. So we're going to check the checkbox of the DHCP server, then add features. Okay, so just click next, then next. Okay, so we forgot something. Okay, so we forgot something. So just close this one first. Okay. So before we configure or install the DHCP, so we must have to manually enter an IP address of the server computer. So we're going to network properties, then change adapter settings. Just right click the Ethernet and properties. So we're going to open the properties of the TCP IPv4, then properties. Okay, so just select use the following IP address to enter manually an IP address for the server computer. So as per instruction, the default gateway is the 192.168.15.1. Okay, so meaning our network IP address is 192.168.15. So in IP address of the server computer, we're going to choose the .2. So 192.168.15.2. So this will be the IP address of the server computer. So click the subnet mask. Okay, the subnet mask will automatically calculate for the classes. Okay, so the 192 is class C IP address. So that's why we have a subnet mask 255.255.255.0. So in the preferred DNS server, the 127.0.0.1 will automatically set after you install the ADDS and DNS. So this will be the DNS server of the server computer. So just click OK. Okay. Then close. Okay, so we have already manually entered an IP address of the server computer. So we're going to install again. So going back to the address and features to install the DHCP server. So click next, then next, next, then let's check again the checkbox of the DHCP server, then add features. So click next, then next again, next. Check the checkbox of the restart. Okay, yes. Then install. Okay, so let's wait for the installation of the HCP server tools. Let's just wait for a little bit. Okay, the installation succeeded. Okay, so just close this one. Okay, so as you can see at the flag notification, we can see another yellow exclamation. So we're going to select the complete the HCP configuration to configure the DHCP. So a wizard will appear. Okay, so just click next. Then use the following user's credentials. So just leave like that. Then select the commit. Then close. Okay, so we have successfully installed the DHCP server and initially configured the DHCP. So next one to do is we're going to open the DHCP for us to configure completely the DHCP settings, or we can create a new scope for the DHCP. Okay, so just expand this one, then right click the IPv4. Okay, so let's just maximize it out. So right click the IPv4, then new scope. So just a wizard will appear. Just click the next. Then our scope will going to name it as logistics scope. Okay, then click next. Okay, so in here, it requires you to enter an start IP address and the end IP address. So as per instruction, the start IP address is the .2. Okay, the last octet is .2, and the end IP address or the host will be 200. So let's enter the first one. Let's enter the network IP, which is the 192.168.15.2. So the first one to distribute IP address of the server to the client will be .2. Then the end IP will be 192.168.15.200. So meaning the server will distribute IP address ranges from 2 to 200. So we will have 198 hosts for a network to a network. Okay, so just click next if you finish entering the IP addresses. Then type the IP address range that you want to exclude. So we're going to skip this one. So we're not doing exclusion of IP address. So just click next, then next. Okay, so in here, yes, I want to configure this option. So just next to configure. Then, okay, so remember, the server will ask you to add an IP address for a router used by clients. Enter the address below. So meaning, in here, in this option, you're going to add an IP address, the IP address of the router. So what I mean is, what you're going to enter IP address here will be the default gateway of the client computers to be distributed. Okay, so the router IP address is equivalent to the default gateway. Okay, so for the client computers that connected to the Ginebra.local domain. So we're going to enter the 192.168.15.1. So remember that the 15.1, always that one will be reserved as the default gateway or the IP address of the router. Okay, so just click add, then next. Okay, so in here also to configure, it says here to configure scope client to use DNS server. So the IP address to be entered is the IP address of the server computer. So meaning the DNS server that will be distributed to the client computer to be used for the client computer will be the IP address of the server computer. So meaning the DNS server will appear as the IP address of the server computer. Okay, so that the host will be the main host of the network will be the server computer's IP address. Okay, so just leave it like that, 192.168.15.2. This is the one that we have manually entered in the network IP address of the server computer. So just click next. Okay, so just click in here, next. Then I want to activate. So next, then finish. Okay, so expand the scope, then select the scope option. So we can see in here the router or the default gateway to be distributed is 192.168.15.1. Then the DNS server is 192.168.15.2. Okay, so the domain name is Ginebra.local. So we are expecting that this configuration or settings will be distributed to the client computers to be who are connected to the Ginebra.local domain. Okay, so in the network. Okay, so after the uh, configuration of the scope or creating a new scope, we're going to the client computer. So let's go to, let's open the network settings first. Okay, then change adapter settings. So we're going to disable and enable the Ethernet of the client computer for it to refresh the network connection. Okay, so disable, then enable. Okay, so as you can see, it is identifying the network that we have created or the domain that we have created. So we are expecting that the IP address uh, that will take to the server computer will align to the DHCP settings we have created, which is the default gateway. Remember, the default gateway we entered is 192.168.15.1. The DNS server is 192.168.15.2, which is the server IP address, and the domain name is the ginebra.local. So as you have entered the enable or you enable the Ethernet of the client computer, so the unidentified network a while ago became a ginebra.local, meaning it already connected to the domain network ginebra.local. So a notification will appear. Do you want to allow your PC to be discoverable? So just click next, just click the yes or select the yes button. Okay, so let's hope that the IP address of the client computer aligned to the DHCP settings. So we're going to open the command prompt, then enter the ipconfig all for us to verify the IP address of the client computer that uh, requested to the server computer. So enter the ipconfig /all, then enter. Okay, so in here we can see that the IPv4 address is 192.168.15.3. So okay, so it aligned to the DHCP range settings of the IP address we have configured in DHCP, which is the 15.2 until 15.200. So it is aligned. The next one is the default gateway. So the default gateway is 192.168.15.1, which also aligned to the DHCP settings, and also the DHCP server, which is 192.168.15.2, which is the server computer's IP address. So we have successfully created a DHCP settings configuration. So the client computer successfully requested or aligned the network configuration of the network properties. Okay, so let's ping for us to verify their communication. So let's open the command prompt to the server computer, then ping the IP address of the client computer, which is the 192.168.15.3. So enter. Okay, so it is replying. So the client computer's IP address is replying to the ping of the server computer. So meaning they have a clear complete communication. So okay, so they have a communication. So let's also ping the IP address of the server computer to the client computer. So ping 192.168.15.2. Okay, so the IP address of the server computer also replying. So okay, so let's close the command prompt. Okay, so if both are replying, so we can now connect the client computer to the domain uh, ginebra.local. So we're going to open the file explorer, then right click the disk PC, then select properties. Okay, so let's search for the advanced system settings. Okay, so a wizard will appear, the system properties. So we're just going to select the computer name, then change. Okay, so let's change the computer name into client. Okay, so meaning this computer is the client computer. So client. Okay, so in here, the member of, by default, after installation of the operating system, by default, the operating system uses the work group. Okay, so but we're going to connect to the domain, created domain, ginebra.local. So let's enter the ginebra.local in the domain, then select OK. Okay, so in here, the system will ask for the administrator's account and password. So let's enter the administrator's account. So administrator. So then password and plus. Okay, so then click OK. Okay, so welcome to the ginebra.local domain. So we have successfully connect the client computer to the ginebra.local domain. So okay, then click OK, then close, then restart now. So we're going to wait for the resetting of the computer system client computer. Okay, so after connecting the client computer to the ginebra.local, meaning we can now log in the created client user, the Edwin client user. So we're going to enter first the admin user of the client computer. So to refresh the settings. Okay, so okay. So we have logged into the admin user of the client computer. So let's check or verify the connection of the domain. So let's open the advanced system settings, computer name, then okay, so we can see in here the domain is ginebra.local. So we have successfully connected, okay, to the ginebra.local domain. So next one is we're going to log in the client user Edwin we have created in the server manager to the server computer. So select the other user, then enter the user Edwin and also the password. Okay, so Edwin, welcome. So it says welcome. So meaning we have successfully logged on the Edwin user. So it's because we are already connected to the domain name ginebra.local. Okay, so hopefully the microphone is clear. So let's just wait a little bit for the installation of the settings for Edwin user account. Okay, so we now have successfully entered to the home screen or the desktop page of the user Edwin. Okay, so it is successful. Okay, so Okay, so it keeps saying that you must have to enter first the admin user. So just enter the admin user. We'll shut down it first. And then I have to turn it off first. So it is having a technical pattern. So let's turn it on again. Start. So let's go to the settings of the users. Again, properties. Okay. So it just had a technical problem. So just ignore the technical problem, the virtual machine of the network. Okay, so we have successfully entered the desktop or the home page of the client computer, username Edwin. Okay, so so next one thing to do is uh, let's share a folder. Okay, so the which is the mapping of drive. Okay, so meaning the server computer can um, share a folder to the client computers within the domain, and also we can specify the selected logistics that can access the shared folder. Okay, so we are going to make a shared folder that the client computer can access as a drive. Okay, so we're going to use the mapping drive. Okay, so first one is to install let's go to the server manager and install the file server. So click add roles and features, next, then click next, then next. Okay, so let's find the or let's look for the file server. Okay, so in here, then expand this one. So file server resource manager. So we're going to install this one, add features, then next, next. Okay, then restart, yes, install. Okay, so let's wait for the installation to be succeeded. Okay, so let's wait for a little bit again. Excuse. Okay, so the installation succeeded. Just click close. Okay. Then next one to do is go to file storage services, then shares. We are going to create a new share or new folder to be shared. Okay, so a new share wizard will appear. Then just click next, then next. Okay, so we're going to name the share folder into log share folder. Then next. So click enable access, then next, then next, then create. Okay, so creation of folder succeeded or completed, then close. So next one, locate the created shared folder. Pwede kayo na tagari. Okay, so we're going to locate the share folder. Okay, which is the drive C. Under drive C, the shares, then the log share. So we're going to first close the window, open file manager, then open the drive C, then shares. Okay, so shares. Okay, so we have located the log share folder. Then we're going to allow the logistics security group in its security and sharing. So just click the properties, then security. Okay, so we're going to remove this um, default group users added to the security. So we're going to remove all inherited, then apply, yes, then okay. So as you can see in here, no groups entered, so it is blank. So we're going to add the administrator and the security group logistics. Okay, so click edit, then add. So search for the admin, enter the admin, then check names. So in here, we're going to select the admin built-in account. Okay, then click OK. Then add again for the logistics. Let's add the logistics security group. So check names. Okay, so as you can see, the entered logistics uh, underlined. So meaning the logistics is valid or valid security group or already created. Okay, so let's just click OK. Okay, so under logistics, let's select the full control. Okay, okay, then the administrator also full control, then apply, then okay. So we have successfully allowed the logistics and administrator to the security settings of the log shared. So next one is the sharing. Okay, so we're going to select the advanced sharing, then click the permissions. So just remove the everyone, then add. Okay, so we're also going to add the administrator in here. Okay, then click OK. Also the logistics. Okay, so for us to allow the logistics and administrator to manipulate or access the shared folder. Okay, so make them full control of the shared folder, then apply, then click OK, apply, OK, then close. Okay, so okay, so next one, let's copy it first, the network path of the shared folder. Okay, so Control C, then close, close. Okay, so we're going to create a map drive for the shared folder. So we're going to expect that the shared folder will appear as a map drive in the client computer. So next one is just open the server manager, then tools, then open the group policy management. So in here, the group policy, we can create a group policy for the organizational units. Okay, so just click the organizational unit specific, then create GPO. So we're going to name it as logistics GPO or the logistics policy. Okay, so logistics policy, then click OK, then select the logistics policy, don't show, then OK. Okay, so we're going to edit this logistics policy, then edit, so that we can create a new map drive for the shared folder, log shared folder. Okay, then policies, or preferences, Windows settings, and the drive map. So select the drive maps, then right click, okay, new, then new map drive. Okay, okay, so a window will appear, new drive properties, for us to enter a settings or settings for the new map drive. Okay, so in here, the location, under the location, we're going to paste the network path of the created log shared folder, which we already copied a while ago. Okay, so click the reconnect checkbox, then use. Okay, so we're going to name it as drive Z, the log shared folder for the client computer. Okay, so select show this drive, then we're going to select the common tab. Okay, so check the item level targeting, then select the targeting. So under new item, we're going to add a security group. So we're going to specify which group can access the map drive. Okay, so let's select this one to search the security group or add the security group of logistics. Okay, then click check names. So it's already underlined, so meaning it is valid. Then okay. Okay, so select the user in group. Then as you can see, the security group in Edward Logistics will be expecting to appear or be allowed to uh, access the map drive we have created. Okay, then click OK, apply, then OK. So as you can see, we have created the drive C, the map drive for the shared folder. Okay, so just close this. Okay, so just close the windows. Okay, so after updating or creating a group policy and map drive, so we're going to update the group policy of the server and even the client computer. So we're going to open the command prompt. Okay, so always after you have changes in group policy, just always to update the group policy using the command prompt. Okay, so gp update sorry, gp update slash force. Okay, so the group policy in the server computer is updating. So we're also going to update the group policy of the client computer. So let's open the command prompt. Okay, so let's type the gp update slash force. Okay, for the client computer also update its group policy to be aligned to the changes of the group policy of the server computer. Okay, so successfully. So let's open the file explorer, then this PC. Okay, so as you can see in here, the log share folder already appeared as a drive. Okay, so it named as drive Z. Okay, so we have successfully created a map drive log share folder. Okay, so it's successful. Okay, so next one, after creating a log share folder and making as a map drive for the client computers of the logistics security group, we're going to set a quotas and file screening for the shared folder. So meaning, in quotas, we're going to limit the storage to be saved in the log shared folder. So let's say for example, the server computer only want the shared folder to be saved for at the maximum of 2 gigs. So we can just set it up. Okay, so and also we can also block the files that can be saved in the log share folder. So let's say in here, okay, let's say for example, so the .text. Okay, so in here we have the Windows 10 activator.x. Okay, so let's try to copy copy this one, then paste to log share folder. Okay, so we have successfully copy pasted the Windows 10.txt file. Okay, so in the server computer, we're going to block or screen. Okay, for under the file screening, we're going to block the copy pasting of text under to the log shared. Okay, so we're going to the server computer. Okay, so to set the quotas and file screening of the log shared. Okay, so let's open the click tools, then open the file server resource manager. Okay, then expand the quota management, then right click the quota, create quota. Okay, so in here under the quota path, let's locate the shared folder. Okay, then click shares, then log share folder. So this will be the target for the settings we are going to make. Okay, so under this one, we're going to set it as 2 gigs. So meaning the log shared folder we have created, it will only it will be limited to 2 gig storage. Okay, so the computers that connected to log share folder can only save files limited to 2 gig storage or 2 gigabyte storage. Okay, then click create. Okay, so we have successfully created a quota for the log share. Next one is the file screening. So expand the file screening, right click the file screen, then create file screen. Then we're also going to locate the log share folder. Okay, so then select the log share folder as our target. Then okay. Then in here, we're going to block the text file. There's no image. Okay, so we have no choices for text file. So, sige lang. Ay, dito. Check mo dito. Okay, so we're just custom it out to find the uh, txt file. Then create. Okay, so there's no custom properties also. Let's go to custom properties. Then check the text file. Okay, so create. Then file group name, let's say txt file. Then okay. Then okay. Okay, so we have selected txt file, meaning tawagan mo. Okay, so we are expecting that the client computers can save txt files or text files to the log share folder. So click create or select create, then template name. Okay, let's say txt. Then okay, so we have created also as you can read in here, block text file. So we're expecting, so let's go to the client computer. So let's copy and paste the text file to the log share folder. So okay, so it says here the destination folder access denied. You need permission to perform this action. It's because we have blocked the text files in under the file screening. Okay, so that's how it works, the file screening. Okay, so the users now cannot enter or uh, save text files to the log share folder. Okay, so just close, then one close and close. Okay, so okay, so we have successfully installed or configured the file resource manager. Okay, we have created a shared folder and uh, made a quotas and file screening of the shared folder. Okay. So next one, let's move on to the next topic, which is the remote desktop. So we're going to remotely control the client computer to the server computer. So first one to do is go to the client computer, then open the File Explorer, right-click this PC, then go to Properties. So locate the Advanced System Settings, open it one, then enter the administrator's account. Okay, so administrator, then password 1 plus. Ah, okay, so a window will appear, which is the system properties. Okay, let's go or open the remote tab, then select the allow remote connections. Okay. After selecting the allow remote connections, meaning the client computer will now enabled or can now be remotely controlled through the network. Okay. Also, we're going to specify the users that can be remotely controlled. So select add, then let's add admin user. Okay, so then okay, then apply. Okay, so we're going to remotely control the user account admin to the server computer. So let's go to the server computer, then open the remote desktop connection. Okay, so in here, we're going to enter the computer name or the IP address of computer. So let's enter the IP address of the admin computer. So first one, we're going to open the command prompt. Then let's enter the ipconfig all for us to verify the IP address of the client computer. Okay, so we can see in here the IPv4 address is 192.168.15.3. So we're going to enter it to the remote desktop. So 192.168.15.3. Then the username is Edwin. Okay, so select the connect. So let's wait for the connection. Okay. Let's try it out again. Okay, so we have an error. So let's see if the remote desktop also enabled in for the server computer. So remote desktop disabled. So sorry, we're also going to enable the remote remote desktop control in the server computer. So select the allow remote, then apply, then okay. Okay. So refresh it. Okay, so as you can see, the remote desktop already enabled. Okay, so you can enable in here. You may also do the enable by going to this properties and locate the advanced system settings and the remote. Okay, so it's a two-way to enable the remote desktop. So let's go to remote desktop again. Open the remote desktop, then enter the IP address of the client computer, which is 192.168.15.3, then Edwin. Okay, so for also don't forget to enable the both computers for client remote desktop. Okay, so it still have a problem. Technical problem again. So let's wait for it. Okay. Okay, so if you have encountered a problem like that, just restart the computers, okay, to refresh the settings. So let's log on the administrator. Okay, so let's try again to open and connect the remote desktop. So enter the IP address 192.168.15.3, then admin user. Okay, we can now successfully remove the admin user. Command prompt. Let's check for the ping. Let's ping the IP address. Oh, so that's why it is. So let's go to the client computer. Then let's check for the IP config slash all. Why is it requesting timeout? Is there a internal problem in here? So let's check for also IP config slash all. 15.2, 15.1. Oh, is there a problem to the uh, settings of this network? Okay, so let's check for the network of the host computer. It's enabled. Why is it? Properties. Let's go to properties. Change adapter settings. Disable. Administrator. Password. Then enable. Let's check for the. Oh, okay. So let's check for the settings of advanced sharing. It automatically turned off the discovery. Okay, so let's just turn on the discoveries. So we didn't. Okay. So we didn't see this one, the domain. Just turn on the discovery. Okay, so administrator. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, so it is left time. Okay, so If you have encountered a technical problem like that, just check for the discovery of the network of client computer. So let's reconnect again the remote desktop. So let's attempt to connect again. So 192.168.15.3, password 1 plus admin. Sorry. So enter the admin computer. Okay, so we still have a problem here. What is it? Private local. It says identified. So let's check again. Into the process 15.3. So 3 admin. Where this but we have already allowed it. Why is that? Let's try to shut it down. Shut down computers. So let's open it again and open this one. Oh, it's saying the remote desktop is off, even it's already on or enabled. So let's go. We can access the remote desktop. GPS VC. GPS VC. GPS VC. Let's verify the remote desktop of the if the remote desktop of the client computer is enabled. Okay, so go to advanced system settings and enter the administrator. Why is it? But we already allowed it a while ago. Okay, there's a technical problem of the system unit. So let's also verify if the remote desktop in server computer is enabled. Okay, so remote desktop enabled. So okay, then let's reattempt to uh, access the remote desktop of Edwin. So enter the IP address 203 and enter the Edwin user. Okay. Okay, so we have successfully entered the Edwin. Okay, so let's enter the password of Edwin user, then click OK. Okay, so verify verify if the two computers of remote desktop of the two computers are enabled so that you can successfully enter the remote desktop of the client computer. So that's what the problem. I don't know how it disabled, but we already enabled a while ago, but I don't know what happened in there. So just re-enable it if you have encountered a problem that the remote desktop is turned off. Okay, so just turn it on again. Okay, so click don't ask, then select yes. Okay, so that's a sign that the remote desktop is working. Okay, so let's wait for the client computer's response for the remote desktop connection. Okay, it's taking too much time for this tutorial. It's because of the technical problems. Okay, so in setting client server or network, there's a high possibility that there would be a technical problem. So you must have to learn also how to troubleshoot the problems of the technical problems of the uh, computer system or system units configuration. Okay, so we have successfully, okay, so as you can see, we have a window for the client computer's desktop. So we have successfully opened the remote client computer. Okay, so we can manipulate this one. We can delete the files of the client computer. You just have to enter the administrator's account. So okay, so we're now done in the client remote desktop connection. Okay, just close this one, then click OK. So then let's go to client computer, then reconnect for it to be able to log in the Edwin. Okay. Okay, so just a reminder, if you have encountered that the remote desktop turned off, just return it on, okay, or re-enable the remote desktop of the computers for you to be able to uh, remotely control the client computers. Okay, so after the remote desktop, we're going to share a printer of the server computer. So meaning we're going to install a printer's driver to the server computer so that the client computers that are connected within the domain name Ginebra.local can print to the server computer's printer. Okay, so we're going to share the printer within the network domain Ginebra.local. So first one, of course, you're going to copy and paste the installer of the printer. So we have a installer in Epson L3110. So we're going to install it in here, the server computer. So a wizard will appear or a setup will appear. Then click OK. Then OK. So agree. Then OK. So let's wait for the installation setup. Okay, so in here, the computer will search for the port that the printer connected, but we currently do not have a actual printer that connected to the computer. So let's manually select a port that will assume the printer connected to the port of the USB port of the computer host. Okay, so let's select the COM1, then okay. So the installation will assume that the printer is connected to the COM1 port of the computer host. Okay, so let's wait for the installation to be completed. Okay, so printer driver installation. So we have a notification that the installation is successful. Just click OK. Okay, so let's go to the control panel to verify the installation of the printer. So view devices and printer. So you can see in here that the Epson L3110 series is already in the list of the printer. So we have successfully installed the Epson L311 series. Okay, so next one is to share the printer. So right click the Epson printer, then printer properties. Okay, so open the tab sharing. Okay, so open the tab sharing, then check the share this printer. So meaning the printer can now be or enabled to be shared to the within the network. So apply, then okay, so we already enabled the sharing of Epson L3110, but we're going to specify the security group or the group that can be that can access the Epson L3110. So we're going to set the policy for the printer. Okay, so let's close this one, then open the server manager. Okay, so let's open the or select the tools, then open the um, let's look for the printer. Okay, so we do not have a printer server. So let's first install the print document server. So add roles, features, then next, next. Okay, so let's look for the print and document services. So check the checkbox of the print and document services for us to install the print and document service tools. Then add features, next. Just click next, next. Okay, so make sure that the print server is checked. Okay, for us to install the print server manager. Okay, so next, then click restart, checkbox, yes, then install. Okay, so let's wait for the installation. So as you can see, the print server and the print and document service tools is currently installing. Okay, so let's wait to be completed. Okay. So it takes so much time. Let's just wait for a little bit longer. Okay, so as you can see, the installation succeeded. Or just select the close or click the close. Okay, then refresh the server manager. Okay, so let's click the tools, then search or look for the print management. Okay, so we now have the print management because we have installed the print service tools and print server. Okay, so open the print management. In here, under print management, we're going to deploy the printer to the group policy. So specify group policy. So let's select the all printers, then look for the Epson L3110. So select the Epson 3110, then right click, then select the deploy with group policy. So we're going to deploy the printer L3110 to the created group policy, which is the logistics policy. So let's look for the let's browse the group policy logistics policy. Okay, so select the all tab, then select the logistics policy, then click OK. Then next one is check the users that this GPO applies, then add. Okay, so we can see in here, we selected the target GPO logistics policy for the deployment of the Epson L3110, and the connection type is the per user. So meaning all users under the logistics policy will be allowed to uh, uh, access or will access the Epson printer. So click apply, okay, then okay. So let's close this window, then open the group policy. So we're going to uh, open the group policy management, then to add the print sharing, okay, printer sharing. So select the logistics policy, then go to tab settings for us to locate the just add, then close. Okay, so for us to locate the path, network path of the or share path of the Epson printer. So let's copy this path, printer connections path, then let's select the logistics policy again, then right click, then select edit. So we're going to add a printer. So under user configuration, expand the references, then expand the control panel settings. Okay, so select the printers, then right click, new, then shared printer. So okay, so in here, new shared printer properties wizard or window will appear. So the action just skip that update, select the update, then the share path, we're going to paste the copied path of the Epson printer L3110. Okay, so select the set printer. Next one is select the common tab, then item level targeting, then the target. So the for us to specify the group that can allowed or be access the shared printer. So select the new item, then security group. Then in here, we're going to search for the security group logistics for us to add it to the for the access of the printer. So logistics, then as you can see, the logistics underlined. So meaning it is valid. Okay. So it's already created as a user or security group. Then click OK. Then so it says here the user is a member of the security group Ginebra.logistics. So so okay. Then apply. Then okay. Then close. Then close. Okay, then close. Okay, so as I said a while ago, if you have a changes in group policy management, so you must have to update the group policy by entering the GPA update code or program to the command prompt. So let's enter the GPA update /force, and let's also update the GPA update to the client computer /force. Okay, so successful. So it is updating the policy. Let's check if it is already uh, added the Epson L3110. So let's go to control panel, view device and printers. Okay, so let's look for the Epson L3110. So there's no Epson L3110 yet. Okay, so if this updating is taking too much time, let's just close this one, then reset the computer. Okay, so let's log in the admin user. Okay, let's open the control panel for us to verify if the Epson L3110 already added to the list of the printers. Okay, so in here, as you can see, Epson L311 series on Win 4AC5A, meaning we have successfully imported the Epson L311 series to the client computer. So this one on Win 4, this is the computer's name of the server computer. Okay, so if the computer L3110 appeared or the printer's name appeared in the list of the client computer, meaning we have successfully imported the printer to the client network within the network. Okay. Okay, so that's all for the entire tutorial. So in our tutorial, we have set up a client server connection or client server configuration. So first one, we installed and configured the ADDS and the DNS where we were able to add a domain and user group and the organizational unit. So next, we have installed and configured the DHCP for the network configuration settings of the client computer. So for the network IP address of the client computer. So we have entered or created a scope. We entered a start IP address as 192.168.15.2 ranges from .2 to end to .200. Okay, so we also entered an IP address for the router or default gateway for the client computer. and also the domain name for the client computer. So next one, after the DHCP, installation of DHCP and configuration, we also successfully remotely control the client computer from the desktop computer. So then lastly, we install and configure the printer management for us and be able to share the printer installed or connected to the server computer in the network. So meaning the client computer, as a result, the client computers in the network can access or print their documents with the server computer's printer. So that's all, and thank you.